Okay, in this video, I'm going to explain how you can make 2024 the year you actually retire. And maybe you've been putting off this for a while, or you've not actually quite decided when to hand in your notice. And there's been something in the back of your mind you've been considering, thinking, look, I really need to sort this out. Well, I believe that there are 5 crucial steps that you need to take before you consider retiring. And in this video, I'm going to tell you the secrets that professionals use to actually ensure your retirement is as good as you'd hoped. So one of the first things to start us off is I see people going into retirement as if retirement is an event in itself. And I think that's completely wrong. There's a fantastic book I read called Changing Gear. And if perhaps you're working quite hard but not ready to pull the trigger yet on retirement, and you want to consider what that transition is going to be like, what life after retirement is going to be like, well, we should really be thinking about this in a structural way. Like it's the third act of life where you get to build upon the skills that you've developed. We want to be in a position where you can get to the end of your life and you're looking back and you're thinking, wow, that was an incredible period. I achieved everything I wanted to, and I felt like I made the best use of the time. For that reason, I think the first step has to be in relation to researching and thinking about what a good retirement can look like. And look, there's lots of good research around this area. The researcher Martin Seligman, he considers good life in general being filled with elements of positive emotion, engagement, relationships, spending time with the people you care about, meaning, as in having work beyond just yourself, and then achievement, as in having something to strive for. Now, for me personally, I define wealth as sort of a Venn diagram of health, money, and relationships. And look, in retirement, I appreciate this might seem a bit hippie for some of you to consider, but really don't sleep on this. You need to carefully consider what your values are and what's important to you. And from this, we can uncover if, for example, maybe a move from full-time to part-time would be better. Maybe if a transition and a transitionary period might be better than a full stop. You want to make sure that when that time comes and you finally give up work, you can handle that transition. From maybe even having a team of people you work with now to not even being able to get a plumber to turn up on time. Just don't underestimate this and what that's going to do for your personal ego and the way you feel about yourself. There are some great searching questions I think it's worth thinking about as far as what's truly important to you. And I'm not going to go over them all, but here's a few examples. If your kids or closest family had to say what your family was known for and what values they used to guide their decisions, what would you want them to say? Or perhaps, look, if you had the choice right now to choose between more money or more time, what would you choose and why? So the number one first step is understanding your values and aims. The next thing I think is to really understand the big questions. And the big questions everyone has to answer as far as from a financial perspective is, have we got enough and are we going to be okay? And there's only really one way that we can answer this question, and professionals do this by utilizing what's called cash flow planning. You can absolutely get started with a spreadsheet and nothing complicated. But at the end of the day, we've got one of the most intricate tax setups in the entire world, and there's a host of different assumptions that we need to navigate, such as inflation, growth rates. And if we don't get these right, then the model that we're building might not be right, and that can give us the wrong conclusion. So let me just quickly show you through an example here of a cash flow plan. What we do firstly is we look into all their, the key components of someone's situation, the family setup, maybe the assets that happen to be at play, the home, maybe the buy-to-let if they have one. And then we need to have a look at the savings. And this is really where the analysis comes in. So pensions, ISAs, general investment accounts, maybe some additional income through work, or whatever it is for you. And then we need to consider the structure of retirement and the expenditure. And when we add it all together, we can have a starting framework now to understand, are we on track? And then my job as a planner is to go in and look at various different alternatives, which may actually be better for the individual. So, what happens if we consider part-time work? What happens if we pay our mortgage off early? What happens if we maybe give some money to the kids at an earlier point? So we can give with a warm heart, not a cold hand. And I've said that a few times, but I don't really say that anymore because it just sounds a bit creepy, doesn't it? Maybe I should throw that off my client meetings. I think you probably should. Okay, so once we've got that cash flow plan, we can then consider what's called stress testing, where we consider things that might not go right or might not go to plan. I can't reinforce this enough. Part of the plan is knowing what happens when things don't go to plan. And that might be things like sequencing risk, or maybe even considering an adaptive spending framework so that we reduce spending down depending on performance. An absolute master of finance, William Sharp, called retirement income the nastiest, hardest problem in finance. Because the key risks are running out of money, the most obvious, and the second is not spending enough. And I can only speak for myself as a planner. I personally would see it as a personal failure if the client I advised became the richest person in the graveyard, but never really got to uncover the purpose of their money. So step 2 is cash flow planning. Okay, so the next one, especially important when it comes to retirement, which is, okay, what are you actually invested in? What are your assets? And how are they going to grow? This really came home to roost around the time of the mini budget, when those who hadn't been assessing this properly got caught out in a big way by what was called lifestyle funds. And lifestyling is the process where pension funds are in the default and they automatically move from higher growth to lower growth in theory because of low volatility. So that tends to have a lot of guilt. The problem that unfolds in relation to this is that it is just a theory and it's never a replacement for bespoke financial planning. So many individuals after that Liz Truss incident found themselves nursing a substantial loss just before they were about to retire because we saw a near historic sell-off in UK government bonds or gilts. And when I'm talking to my clients, a lot of the planning is about the known and the unknown costs. And the wrong asset allocation can be a huge unknown cost because you're only going to find out when it's too late or when you get the comparison, which by definition will be too late. So number 3 is asset allocation. The next one is another really important one. Okay, so there are very specific risks in retirement that we all need to be aware of, such as the first 5 years prior and during retirement is incredibly important. And this is what's called sequencing risk. And it means that if you're unfortunate enough to retire and get a really bad structure of returns, it can really impact how much money you can spend for the rest of your life, or whether your assets sustain you or deplete. And there are ways that this can be mitigated, this sequence risk, such as a segmentation strategy or bucket strategy, where you hold certain amounts in cash or potentially lower volatility assets, as long as they are actually lower volatility assets. However, it's really difficult to do this unless you've done step 2, which is the cash flow plan, because there's no point segmenting your portfolio if you simply don't have enough in the portfolio to begin with. And this is why it has to follow the first steps. So number 4 is managing risk. Next is really worth considering. This tends to get my clients when I talk to them about it. Who do you think is going to be your biggest beneficiary or expense? Well, it's probably going to be the taxman if you're not careful. So part of the strategy, we need to bring this all together. So look at your assets. Maybe you've got some buy-to-let properties. Maybe you've got some other investments outside of your pension, general investment accounts, or maybe even some additional dividends coming from your company. The thing that we need to do is we need to be strategic based on what's important to you. Maybe that's spending the money, and then reduce taxes as much as possible. And there should also be a conversation about how much we want to balance lifetime and legacy taxation, because there can often be a bit of a trade-off between, look, leaving the most of you can and spending and reducing your lifetime tax bill. Now, to be honest, in general, I tend to try and get my clients to spend for themselves if given that choice and the trade-off. So sorry, kids, if you're watching this. So the next one is minimizing tax. Okay, so this is really where, and I know this is slightly self-serving, but it's the truth, where the value of an advisor comes in and where it's crucial in retirement. While a cash flow plan is a really essential part of the strategy, the world's greatest cash flow plan will only ever be an expensive doorstop if it's not updated. Because if there's one thing we know for sure, is that if it's not taxation and legislation, if it's not investments, it will be you. Something will change. And while a proper financial plan is a great roadmap to the start of retirement, there is no expectation that your goals will be exactly the same over a 30-year period. If you just think back to the last 10 years, how much has changed since then in your situation or maybe even yourself? So it's important we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater here and say, look, we should never plan because it's not beneficial. That's fundamentally wrong. The value is in the planning process, not the static plan, because it's the course corrections that save the money and make all the difference, not in defending that this situation that we perfectly know what the next 30 years is going to look like. We just know we can make the best possible decisions based on the information at the time if we plan strategically. Because there is a difference between lifespan and health span. And while your average life expectancy may be 86, your health span could be considerably shorter, and we need to be aware of that. In my view, money is just freedom and choice at the end of the day, and you have probably worked extremely hard all your life to get that freedom and choice now. So let's make sure that with the planning that you actually get the retirement that you worked for. And with that, they were the crucial steps to make sure that 2024 is the year that you retire. Thanks for watching. See you next time.